Hello, YouTube. Today, we're going to be talking about consent, a topic that we don't talk about nearly enough, especially among men. We're going to be talking about why it's so important to get consent and the situations where we, myself included, fuck up usually. So, let's get started, shall we? Consent is about mutual agreements in casual and serious relationship, or we could say in romantic and non-romantic relationship. Well, let's start talking about it from a romantic perspective, because I think that's the first one that we need to tackle here. Consent is a person's bodily and mental autonomy and how they allow others to access it. Very well said, Clem. But yes. So consent. What is really consent? As some people pointed out here, it's about someone's bodily autonomy, mental autonomy as well, and how they let other people access to it. So, in other words, boundaries. Consent is about boundaries, you know. Can someone hug you? Can someone hold your hand? Can they kiss you? Etc., etc. How close do you let someone mentally and physically, essentially, putting it very simply. Because of this autonomy that everyone has over themselves, their body and their mind, let's start about talking about no. So, for men, we often get no. For example, if we ask someone out, I don't mean we often get as in like we get turned down a lot, but I mean a common situation where we get no is, for example, when we ask someone out. And we need to respect that. If someone says no, then that's the end of it. Hounding them over it, no, don't do that. It's bad luck. It's bad luck. Don't do it. If someone says no, if you're in bed with someone and they say they don't want to take it any further, respect that. I know you're horny. I know you want to take it further, but if they don't want it, then no, it shouldn't happen. It's not cool. Not cool to start playing a negotiation game with any types of consent. If it's a no, it's a no, and that's it. Respect it. Don't start negotiating about it. That is extremely not cool. Very disrespectful. If you start doing that, then you are showing that you are untrustworthy, that you don't respect their autonomy and you don't care about consent. Bad luck. Consent is about respecting when someone says no, but importantly also, consent is about asking for a yes. So we shouldn't assume that because someone says no, so a lack of a no, that they are consenting to something. That might not be the case, especially for women. They have often been with men who are either physically or emotionally harmful. So saying no for many women is a scary situation because it could easily end up being violent. So they might just go along because out of fear, out of whatever feeling. So don't assume that because someone has not said no, they are in fact saying yes. Always ask. Always ask. And like people in the chat were saying, consent can be withdrawn at any point. So you might get into bed with someone, you're like, hey, is it okay if we go further? And they say yes. And as you get further, they say, actually, you know what? I changed my mind. And that's okay. That's okay. I know it can feel frustrating for you, but like, what? You said yes and now you're saying no? It can feel frustrating, yes. But it happens. That stuff happens. A very good example of consent, there's this famous video regarding consent, which is thinking of consent like tea. So think about consent as like, instead of asking someone, would you like to have sex with me, or would you like to kiss me, or would you like to hold hands with me? Think about it as like, would you like to have a cup of tea? It's a very good way of thinking about it. Because if someone says, no, I don't want a cup of tea, you're like, oh, okay. You don't start arguing like, well, I have this type of tea. And they're like, no, well, I have this type of tea. It's like, no, I don't want tea. Or if they say, oh, I'd love some tea, then you make them some tea, and you know, both have some great tea and it's awesome. And if they don't say anything, don't make them tea, because they didn't say they want tea. They didn't say they want tea. You should always get a yes. They might first say, yeah, I would like some tea. And then when you bring it, they're like, actually, I'm not feeling like it anymore. And that's fine. And remember, very important point, a person that is not conscious cannot say yes to tea. If they are asleep, they cannot consent. If they're passed out because they're drunk, they cannot consent. If the person is not lucid and cannot answer questions lucidly, they cannot consent, not ask them for consent, and do not take anything further than that. Alright? Alright. I understand that, especially for guys, like if you ask someone out or if you're, things are getting hot and heavy, you want it to go forward, or you want to ask someone out and you want them to say yes, and they say no, it's frustrating and it hurts and it's vulnerable and stuff, but hey, that's just part of life. That's just part of life. That's just how it is. Yeah, and even asking someone when they're really drunk is dodgy. Yeah, even then it can be dodgy. But like that's a complicated situation, because if you're both really drunk, then you're both kind of compromised. But especially if you're sober and the other person is really drunk, don't go for it. That's very not okay. So you should always ask for consent. Remember, always. If you want to hug someone, ask for their consent. Even if it's a friend. Ask them, can I hug you? Because not everyone wants to be hugged at every moment. Ask them, can I hug you? If you want to kiss someone that you're having an awesome time with, maybe you're on a date, you're having a great time with them, and you feel like things are hitting off, and you're getting to that point where, my kiss, ask, hey, can I kiss you? If things are getting hot and heavy, and you want to take some clothing off, ask them, can I take your shirt off? Can I take your pants off? Etc. Getting that yes is good. But unfortunately, our culture doesn't teach us these things, and especially asking for something like this is considered for men an unmasculine thing to do, and that it's not sexy. You're not supposed to ask for these things. You're supposed to be able to read the signs, You're supposed to know when to kiss someone. You're supposed to know when to do X, Y, and Z, which is, of course, dumb because no one knows what's going on in the other person's head. And we're terrible at reading other people. Like, you'll be like, oh, she's super into this. And in her head, she's like, oh God, I want to get the fuck out of here. I'm not feeling good. We're so bad at reading this stuff. Like, we have to just do this. Like, we have to get better at this. And and it is getting better, Like, we're talking about this right now. There definitely is more of a culture around this. Talking about consent, asking for consent, But it's a very important topic. Very important topic. And most men have fucked up with this. I've fucked up with this, like, for sure. I've been in bed with people and I haven't specifically asked for consent. For sure. Like, yeah, Jesper said he's fucked up too. Like, I'd say like all men have fucked up in this because we're not taught to do this stuff. We are in fact taught to be like, oh yeah, you're just supposed to know, You're just supposed to read someone's mind and then No, like, we can't read anyone's mind. If you feel a certain way, tell someone about it. Also, I want to erase if she says no, she's just playing hard to get bullshit. Oof, yeah. Friends, if someone says no, that's a no. That's not playing hard to get. Or, if you are someone who is doing that, which, again, this is a minority of cases, if you are trying to play hard to get, don't do it. Do not do it. It's a terrible, terrible thing to do. It puts people in a very weird position where they have to try and guess what you're thinking. Do not do it. It's not It's a bad look, sweaty. Hey, movies also teach to run after your love. Yes, exactly. Like, men are taught to, not take no for an answer. You have to fight for your love. Like, you have to just make it clear to them that you love them, and then they'll realize, and then they'll love you as well. No. If someone says no, respect them and say, okay. And you know what? Asking for consent is sexy. Ask women if they find it sexy. Many women will say yes, because it shows that you have a emotional maturity that many people don't have, that you respect them. They say it's sexy, it's really attractive. It's true. I've had sometimes people who were legit confused that I asked for consent. Yes. Yeah. Yep. And that's probably what's going to happen when you ask for consent. You will have people who are confused because they're not used to it. They're like, what? They're asking me? What? Like, you will get those reactions because people are not used to that. But it should be normal. It should be normalized. It is definitely confusing for many people when someone for the first time asks, like, hey, is this okay? And for many people, they might not have ever thought about the fact that you can talk about it openly. Many people don't think about that. They're just like, oh, you can talk about this stuff? Yep, can. Sure can. So remember, everyone, ask for consent. It's difficult, I know, it's really fucking hard. Especially when you're in the moment. Like if you're kissing someone and things are getting hot and heavy, because I know I've had the thought in my mind, if I'm in that situation, it's like, well, I don't want to ruin the moment by asking them, because it's unsexy, right? And it doesn't ruin the moment. It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't ruin the moment. It just shows that you care about them and their boundaries, like what's okay for them, and you respect them. That's pretty fucking dope. Pretty fucking cool. Men are expected to be taking initiative, and that's bad, but that explanation never justifies harassment. True. But merely gives an explanation to why it happens. Absolutely. Absolutely. Teglon, you're absolutely right. Yes. Men are taught that they have to take initiative and they have to kind of chase after women. True. Unfortunately, also, our society teaches women that men should make the first move. That also sucks, because then women can't make the first move, or they're just like, oh, it's not attractive if someone doesn't make the first move, which sucks, because you're like, that it's messed up, but if it's just like a really, really deep driven bias, you're gonna have a really hard time unlearning that and what you find sexy and what you don't. Like, that's tough. As a man, I would say it's also sexy when a woman makes the first move. It is! Yes! Oh my god, it's so sexy if a woman makes a first move. I'm surprised when that happens, of course, because it's not the norm, but oh my god, yes! If a woman asks me out, I'm like, oh, dude, this is so cool! Oh my gosh! She thinks I'm cool. Oh, I'm not just, like a ball of sweat and nervousness. Absolutely, you're so right. So right. Ask people out. Yes. Respectfully, of course. Remember, if you get turned down for a date, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means that particular person wasn't interested in you, and that's fine. Think about it this way. This is a really dumb analogy. I'm going to apologize. But what's your favorite ice cream flavor? What's an ice cream flavor that you hate? So, if someone's like, would you like this ice cream flavor that you hate, without them knowing that you hate it, they'd be like, no, I don't like that ice cream flavor. And you'd be like, oh, okay. That doesn't mean that ice cream flavor is terrible and should be thrown into the pits of, like, Mordor. No, it just means that this person doesn't like that flavor. People like different things. It's fine. So remember, if you get turned down, it doesn't mean that you suck, that you're ugly, that no one could ever like you. No, that's not what it means. It just means that this particular person was not interested in you. And that is okay, because not everyone can be interested in you. Some people, here's a caveat, because you'll be like, well, these people get dates all the time. Some people are conventionally attractive. And what that means is that they will appeal to many people, because we have certain beauty standards in our society. It depends from culture to culture what are the things that are desirable. So some people are going to appeal to more people than others, and that is just a way of things. For some people, they work on it a lot. Some people have certain attributes that they're born with. It just do be. But to wrap this conversation up, consent. Super duper important. Always ask. Always ask. It's difficult, uncomfortable, even clumsy because we're not used to it, but always ask for consent. Remember, if someone cannot say no, if they're in a state where they cannot properly answer you, or if they're in a state where they cannot answer, then they cannot consent. Do not ask them or try anything. Don't do it. Remember, think of the tea example. Would you offer someone tea in this situation, and if they said no, would you freak out? Probably not, so don't do it. Ask for consent. It's cool, it's sexy, people will respect you, and they will like you for it. Alright? Alright. Thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate you sticking around for the whole time. Would you please like and comment and subscribe down there? Please do. It really helps me out. Helps me out with the channel. And also, you can come check me out on Twitch. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 p.m. Central European Time. See you in the next video. And goodbye.